evening and welcome back to 30 at 6 on Cecil TV. Today is Monday, May 20th. Happy birthday, Rob. My name is Alison Donnelly, and on tonight's show we have quite a good show for you. We have Mike Dixon, our favorite historian, talking about the C D Canal. We've got Elkton's newest town commissioner, Rob Massimiano, who was appointed to Mary Jo Jablonski's seat after she passed away in February. And we have Nicholas Moon from Cecil County Parks and Rec talking about the upcoming summer events here in Cecil County. And now for the news. Maryland Comptroller Peter Franchot made news this week with his announcement that in his capacity as Vice Chairman of Maryland's State Retirement and Pension System, he will ask for what he calls a complete and thorough review of all relationships that the agency has with businesses located in the state of Alabama. This is a reaction to Alabama's enaction of the most restrictive abortion law in the country. In a post on his Facebook page, Franchot says that the review will include a full inventory of assets that are invested in Alabama-based companies, as well as all investment managers, brokers, and consultants with locations in that state. He will also ask that no retirement and pension system employees travel to Alabama under any circumstances, be it for professional conferences or meetings with current or prospective investment partners. Mr. Franchot says that he hopes that this move will put Alabama and other states on notice, and that attacks on the freedoms and the well-being of women will come at a prohibitive price. County Executive Alan McCarthy announced today that Lauren Levy has been selected as the new health officer for the Cecil County Health Department. Lori Humphreys has been the acting health officer since Stephanie Garrity announced her retirement in 2018. Ms. Levy holds a master's in public health from Columbia University and Juris Doctorate with a concentration in health law and policy from the University of Maryland School of Law. She obtained her bachelor's in public health from Johns Hopkins University. Her unique blend of studies in these disciplines and her advanced education made Ms. Levy a standout among all other candidates. Ms. Levy's professional experiences, including her position as Managing Director of the Law and Healthcare Program with the University of Maryland Francis King Carey School of Law, and as a research associate in the Department of Epidemiology and Public Health at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. Ms. Levy and her family currently reside in Towson and will be relocating to Cecil County in the coming months. Ms. Levy is slated to begin her new role on May 22nd. As temperatures continue to rise, so will the number of mosquitoes throughout the state. Maryland Department of Agriculture's Mosquito Control program urges residents to take measures on their own property to help reduce mosquito populations. Aside from being a nuisance, mosquitoes can carry harmful diseases like West Nile virus. Maryland's most common nuisance mosquito is the Aedes albopictus, or Asian tiger mosquito. This invasive species is inactive during the day and can be particularly aggressive. Aedes mosquitoes breed in containers of standing water rather than marshlands. Items like lawn furniture, corrugated drain pipes, flower pots, children's toys, and a variety of common household items can quickly become mosquito breeding grounds. It is vital that all Marylanders survey their property and drain or eliminate anything where water can pool. For more helpful tips and information, visit the Maryland Department of Health website. We'll be back after these messages.
Hello, Cecil County and the world. Rob Churnside here in my office at home. I've been doing a little bit of research on this worm thing, which we call wormgate. Is it a scandal? We're about to find out. I checked on the computer and literature, and I found out that worms are good for the environment. We want to be good for the environment. Everywhere we can, every day. Protecting the environment, helping the environment. The better politicians understand this. The public needs to understand it. We need to find out more about wormgate. Worms are raised for agricultural purposes. Vermiculture, it's called. When worms are reared for their organic fertilizer, they're raised in 6 months. The process includes worms eating scraps and other compost materials and giving them a little food, such as that stuff, moisture, oxygen, and a dark place to live. Voila. What comes out is called worm juice, and it's used for fertilizer. However, the soil can also be composted. What I want to know is, and what you probably want to know, Cecil County and the world, is where do the fishing worms come from, and do they work? We're going to have to travel. Let's check it out. Cecil County in the world, here we are again. Cecil TV headquarters at a place called Meeting House on the old map. Lots of good fishing in the Chesapeake Bay region, but we're gonna have to travel all the way around the world to Kenya in Africa to find out about vermiculture and the red worms, perhaps the worms we use to fish with. These worms are raised in tanks, big blue tanks, fed scraps and other materials, and as I said earlier, the worm juice comes out tap on the bottom. So we're going to travel from Kenya back to Cecil County and get some worms. Let's go. I'll have to go in disguise. Rob Churnside here, working at deep cover on Wormgate. We're going to find out about these worms, how to get them, where they come from, how to use them, and if they're any good. Let's go.
We are so pleased to have you join us here today to honor the class of 2019.
Cecil College's new tagline, Own Your Future, sends a very powerful message, taking personal responsibility for the outcome of your future, as well as succeeding in your life and career. You owned it. It also conveys that Cecil College is affordable and that many of our students graduate debt-free. Cecil College is the place that will allow each of you an opportunity to create your individual path to a better future through education. Every member of the college community was here to support you, watching you reach your academic goals, and we remain committed to providing quality education at an affordable price so that every student has the ability to truly own their future. Education is one of the best investments we can make in America's future.
The simplest things are challenging. All this change has just made me into a stronger individual. We are all unique in our own ways, and we've all had our own challenges and struggles to get here. However, we made it. We made it through all the late nights, full and part-time jobs, kids, deadlines, family and social outings, procrastinating, and mental breakdowns. We made it.
We all live such rich and nuanced and multifaceted lives. Remembering that everyone you meet has a story as brilliant and tragic and magical as your own inspires us all to be better people, to be more kind and compassionate, to lend a helping hand more often, and to give the benefit of the doubt. In short, to imagine others' complexity.
This has been a season of change and growth. If you would have told me 2 years ago that I would be making a speech in front of the entire graduating class, I would have told you you were crazy. But yet here I am, standing in front of you all today, sharing my story as a nursing graduate. Even though I am closing this chapter of my life, new ones are about to begin, because there is no limit to our success.
Welcome back to 30 at 6. Rob Massimiano is in the studio with us this evening. He is Elkton's newest town commissioner. He was appointed to fill Mary Jo Jablonski's seat after she passed away in February. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Now, you were sworn in mid-April, so you have a few council work work sessions under your belt. How is the transition going from private life to public life?
It's going fairly smoothly. I have a very good team around me, and I know everybody personally. I know them well. I've known them for a long time, so I feel very comfortable with it. They're all kind of helping me get my feet until I can get going on my own.
Do you bring any particular vision for Elkton with you to the town board?
I like the direction we've been going in, and I'd like to help to keep it going in that direction. We've seen a lot of growth, and we're really looking for more growth. I have sat on several boards. I had to resign from the board of directors of the Elkton Alliance and from the board of zoning appeals in order to take this position. So I am very familiar with the proceedings and Robert's Rules of Order and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a smooth transition. I'm sorry. It's kind of been an evolution for me. You know, one step, another step, and so it feels natural.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm sure helps you bring a lot to the table as far as experience with knowing the town and its procedures. And like Mary Jo, you have been very actively involved with business and in the arts community in Elkton.
Yes.
And we have seen quite a revitalization in the town in the last several years, and that's so great. How do you think we can continue to revitalize the town and continue to grow?
We are talking about incentives for new businesses and new homeowners, waiving certain things, you know, to entice them and, you know, get them to come to town. And Elkton is looking very attractive lately. You know, it's really palatable for new businesses and homeowners to come in.
How so?
With the new businesses, the new people that we have in town, it's really nice down there. Have you been downtown lately?
Oh, yeah.
It's really nice.
It's really nice, and I think draws all kinds of people. There's something for everyone in downtown Elkton.
It's like somebody's flipped a switch, and that really goes to the outside of the Main Street area. I mean, I'm talking about the whole town of Elkton. And we have a nice town with a lot of nice people.
And a lot of people who are really invested in keeping the good things going.
Absolutely. A lot of people, just like myself, you know, I have a vested interest in this community. I love to be part of it, and I love to help out. I've never been one just to sit back, so I'm really happy to take this position.
That's great. And I didn't mention this in the beginning. You are obviously the owner of Tidewater Tattoos right on Main Street in downtown Elkton. And
yes.
We did mention you're in the local band, Plan B.
Plan B.
Right. I sometimes get it confused with Take Two.
Oh, yeah, it's like our sister band.
Right. And so I wanted to ask, do you think that you will run for office once your term ends? Since you mentioned this is an evolution for you. Okay.
Absolutely. I have 3 years left. You know, Mary Jo had 3 years left on her term, and when it's done, I absolutely plan on running for another term.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while we're on the topic of tattoos for a moment, I did want to ask you, completely separate from your new role, you've been in the business, you mentioned, for 33 years?
Yeah, since 1986.
So how has the art of tattooing and just consumers' demands for different kinds of tattoos, how has that changed in the time that you've been in the business?
Ooh. Well, we could be here for a while. I
and
think
you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think the biggest changes have been not only the public's, the general public's view of my profession. You know, we've become more accepted as artists and businessmen, which is what we've been after all along. Also, just the type of people that are getting tattooed. You know, there was a time when certain types of people got tattooed, not bad people, but just a certain type, you know. Now it's everybody. It's everybody. And women have got to be 50% of our business anymore.
That is interesting,
Yeah.
how it was probably predominantly men.
It was, yeah. But now it's all walks of life, all age groups. Our current record holder for getting their first tattoo is an 85-year-old gentleman. Yeah.
What has changed about the types of tattoos you've given, and how has the art itself, I guess, evolved?
Years ago, it was very traditional, bold lines, solid colors. Now, depending on the artist, just about anything is possible. Realistic portraits, lots of nice colors, you know. The colors have come a good way.
In the ink itself? And
yeah, but what we use are dyes.
okay.
They're not actually inks.
And what do you have well, I guess my question is, do people often come in and just tell you to do what you feel like doing, or do they almost always have
Too often they do that.
Oh, that would be
But you
really
can't leave
scary
it up to me. You don't know what you'll walk out with.
That's true.
Yeah, you got to give me some direction. Of course, I'll put my own spin on it. You know, I
Right,
work with
of
my
course.
clients, you know, but I want to know what they're interested in. I want to know the subject matter, you know, and I'll get it out of them somehow. 33 years, I've learned how to pull stuff from people.
Yeah, I would think
Yeah.
so. Okay, well, it's been great to meet you and talk with you, and I really
you
hope to have
too.
you back soon.
I will come back.
Elkton's newest town commissioner, Rob Massimiano. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to 30 at 6. We're pleased to be joined by our favorite historian, Mike Dixon. Thanks so much.
Well, thanks for having me again.
So a couple weeks ago on MPT, there was a special on the C&D Canal, and you were involved with the production of that.
Right.
How did they become interested in our canal?
Well, Alison, you know, each year MPT has a program called Chesapeake Bay Week. It takes place in the middle of April. And so they'll, for instance, they've done the Bay Bridge.
Right.
3 or 4 years ago, they called up and said, what can we do in the Conowingo Dam? Can you help us with that? And we said, sure, be delighted to help you. So I guess about a year ago, they called and they said, well, you know, we're thinking about doing the C&D Canal. And a crew came up and we spent a day kind of mapping out things that would work as they were going through their original planning, and visited Chesapeake City and Delaware and St. George's and some of the places, parks and things along the way. And after a lot of work on their part, the documentary aired in mid-April.
Very cool. I haven't watched it yet, but I was doing some reading about the canal yesterday. And I understand that it originally was sought as a way to cut out 300 miles of the water route between Philadelphia and Baltimore.
Yeah, you know, it opens on July 4th, 1829. But forever, they knew they wanted to build a canal.
Right.
You think traveling
back
from
to
Baltimore.
the mid-1600s,
Yeah.
they were thinking about
Think
this.
of traveling in 1600s or 1700s from Baltimore to Philadelphia. That's a long way to go around Cape
thank you.
Charles. And you know, what's the speed of a sailing vessel? 3-4 miles an hour if the winds are favorable.
Right.
So that cut off when it opens in July 1829. It cuts off 300 miles on a trip. Man, modern stuff.
Right. So how deep and wide was it in the beginning? I know it expanded over time.
Yeah, it doesn't look anything like what you see now. First off, when it opened, it had 3 locks on it. So think of like the Erie Canal, where they have these locks to lift you up and lower you in elevations. Well, our C&D Canal is only 14 miles long, but there is elevation there. It's 90 feet above sea level when you get over to like Summit Bridge, Summit Aviation, in that area. So it required 3 locks. Those locks were 22 feet wide. That meant that the largest vessel that could get into it would be a steamboat that was, 20 feet or something less.
Right.
So it was pretty small. And once you got into the waterway, it was a little bit wider, but that was one of the things, is you had to get lifted up through those locks. You had to be small so you could get a vessel in there. And mostly it was just barges and mules pulled them back and forth, and they were making a slow run from Chesapeake City to Delaware City. It was the bulk of a day to make that 14 miles.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously it was a great tool for business people and along the coast here. How is it used today?
Okay. So it obviously was like an enormous impact, and it causes Delaware City to evolve, what you see with Delaware City, or what you see with Chesapeake City.
Right.
Both of them come about because of that. Both of those towns live based on the canal. So in 1919, the federal government buys it. The era of canals is long past. Railroads have taken over, much better way, much faster than those sailing vessels. But the government wanted it, which is what it does today. The government wanted it for a deep water access into the ports of Baltimore, into the port of Baltimore. So ships coming across the Atlantic Ocean wouldn't have to go around that journey past Cape Charles. So they buy it in 1919. They start digging it out. Now they're not happy with 22 feet locks. That's not what they want. So it gives us a canal today. It's about 450 feet wide. Some of the world's biggest vessels go through it. If you've ever been in Chesapeake City, when they pass through. And what it gets used for, 2 or 3 things. It's the shortcut into the Baltimore port.
Right.
Big vessels. I mean, ocean containerized cargo, ships, cars, things like that. The other transit is like intercoastal. So you'll see tugboats making their way from Philadelphia, Chester, places on the Delaware River, into Baltimore, and maybe down to the Hampton Roads area. There's a fair amount of that traffic, pulling barges back and forth. And of course, the third use is recreational. But it's still important commercially. I mean, it's still a very viable canal. And you don't have to hang out in Chesapeake City very long till you see some big ship going by.
Right. So aside from watching the documentary on MPT, how can our viewers learn more about the canal and its history?
That's actually a great question. So it's one of the things about practicing the craft of history here is that there's so much that we can do. Well, the canal, it is a perfect place to get acquainted with history. Have you ever visited the Army Corps of Engineers office?
I have not.
Okay. So around the basin, if you go around by Chesapeake Inn, that large basin there is the headquarters for the canal, Army Corps of Engineers. They maintain a dispatcher there. They maintain like supervisory engineers, people that oversee the work and the maintenance and the contracts. But they have this really great little, it's actually a wonderful little museum. It's open like during normal business hours till 5 p.m. But I encourage people to stop by there and tour it. It does an excellent job of telling about this era of transportation history of canals. So it's really a good place to visit.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thanks. Thank you so much.
Mike Dixon, our local historian. Welcome back to 30 at 6. Now that it's getting really warm in Cecil County, we have to start thinking about the summer events, and the Cecil County Parks and Rec is all over that. Thanks so much for being here, Nick Moon.
Thanks for having me, Alison.
We have the first thing coming up this Friday, Community Game Night. Tell us about that.
So I want to talk about Community Game Night because it's I think it's a little known program that we've started now.
I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, we've tried to push advertising, and then we'll run into people who are like, "This is a really cool idea. Why didn't we hear anything about it?"
Oh yeah.
And now being on Cecil TV, I think it's a perfect time to kind of get that out there.
It is perfect.
Yeah. So it's run the 3rd or 4th Friday. It changes based on if we have a holiday or like an event that's already planned. But 3rd or 4th Friday at the end of every month, 5 to 8 o'clock. It's a free event essentially for the community just to come out and kind of have, I don't want to say like old school fun because board games and card games, I mean, you have some newer ones and old ones, but it's just kind of like good fashioned fun. You know, we've got Uno, we've got hot tub high dive. We have a bunch of different things that you can participate in.
I don't even know that game.
I didn't either.
Sounds new and trendy.
It's pretty fun. I was surprised when I tried it, but it's pretty fun. So
not only is this happening this Friday, but it happens regularly. I didn't know that. I thought this was like the community game night.
So this is our 3rd one. So we've had it once a month, and I mean, we've been trying our hand at getting the message out there, but it's tough. You know, there's so many different outlets and mediums that you can kind of get people on, and I mean, the more we have it, I think the more people are going to hear about it from their friends and family, which word of mouth is the best way of hearing of something. So we're excited for this one, which is again this Friday.
This Friday, 5 to 8 at the Rising Sun Community Center. Yep. And is it free?
It is free, which
That's
is
awesome.
I think the best kind of fun.
It is the best kind of fun.
Right.
What's your favorite board game?
Favorite board game? I'm more of a card game guy, if I'm being completely honest, because usually
fine.
I'll stick to like Life, which is really depressing, but like I don't have to think much, and I usually lose at board games. So card games, like I'll stick with like Uno or something
Uno's
that's more
a great
fun
one.
thing. Yeah.
I've gotten really into Jenga.
I'm so bad at Jenga.
Oh, I mean, I'm terrible at it, but it's fun. And
it is fun.
Similarly, you don't have to think a whole lot.
That is true. That's true. And it's a lot of fun with friends. Like friends and family to play with.
It is. Have you seen those giant Jenga games?
Yes.
The ones? I've never played one, but they seem fun.
I've seen dogs play them, and they're better than I am.
Oh. Wow.
I was going to say, total side note, but, you know, it's pretty cool to see a bunch of different things all in one. I mean, Jenga's now that, like, new, cool, I think, like, it's like bar kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Where you're having friends come out, like a light kind of hangout session. And Jenga is that new thing that seems to be kind of catching on. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's this Friday. Then next week we have summer field hockey kicks off, and that is at the Calvert Regional Park.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
So I thought it was kind of cool. We went from like something we're hoping to be like a new tradition of community game night, of getting people out there. Summer field hockey is something I really hope that we could maybe emulate for other sports. It is essentially just an opportunity that came up in the last couple of years of providing an infrastructure for people to play field hockey and to get their children interested in something they've already done. So we have 3 different programs that essentially go from kindergarten until 18 plus.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we have one that's kindergarten to 8, and that's to teach the sport of field hockey. It's basics to have fun and to learn the sport. Then we have our high school league. So anyone that's in high school, and then after that, I mean, if you're in college, I think our oldest registered participant might be around 50.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so we have it's an awesome setup to get people playing, and if we can get stuff more like that, I mean, I'd love to see it personally. So yeah, it's a great program that's starting up on Tuesday.
That's really great. I was imagining it was mostly kids around the same age, but that's really cool that you have three different groups.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I talk to people, I've been calling it like the summer field hockey experience, because they all go back to back to back. So you get to see all of these people out there. And last year we had upwards of about 150 participants. This year I think we're not on Tuesday yet, and people usually sign up close to that deadline, but we're up to near like 100, 110 people. So it's a pretty cool program. Like, if you get to see it, if you can participate, I mean, it's also pretty cool. I've never played field hockey, but I'm looking forward to seeing it myself.
What's the time commitment? So it begins Tuesday, runs for 8 weeks. What time are practices generally?
It's actually just, so for the kindergarten through 8, it's a combination of like training or more like teaching the skills and the foundation, and then some gameplay. And then for the high school and adult league, it's just 1 hour a week.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one game. I mean, your teams are set up once the league starts. So there is some leeway. Tuesday is when it starts. But if someone were interested in trying to, like, they hear about it from someone, or they come out and they're like, oh, this sounds really cool, they still have a week to register afterwards.
Okay.
But from Tuesday on, it's 8 weeks. Each Tuesday, it's 1 hour. So it's pretty minimal in terms of all our busy time commitments we all have around the course of a week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And then we have everyone's favorite Safetyville, which is for 4 to 5 year olds.
Yep.
And tell us about that.
I mean, I talked about Safetyville either the last time I was on or the time beforehand, but it's such a great program, and it's especially, I mean, we talked beforehand, but like, I'm newer to the area, so like every time I talk about someone else, I hear about it, which is so cool. Like, we ran for a different program, we had a registration, and I was talking to my staff member about different programs we had, things going on, and even one of my high school staff members, like when Safetyville came up, he was like, oh, I remember riding around the pedal cars, and I got to hang out and meet like the Cecil County Sheriff's Office. I hear from all these people, and I'm like, I wouldn't have thought that would, like, this one staff member, like, it wasn't something I would have thought would have resonated. He's a varsity high school sport athlete, not someone I think that, and he was gushing about it. Yeah. So it's a program that, I mean, even though it's hitting younger kids who are 4 to 5 years old, I mean, it makes an impression because it's fun, you're doing a lot of different activities, and there's a lot of people involved. I mean, it's run by Parks and Rec in partnership with the public school system, CCPS, and also Cecil County Sheriff's Office. So it's a pretty big undertaking to try and put on such a cool experience.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those programs that people love the memories of doing when they were kids, but then also, I know I and several people I know in the county volunteered later as not counselors,
like like an assistant instructor, I believe, like as the title or something.
And that was also a lot of fun. So so that runs the end of June through early July. Yep. And this year is at Rising Sun High School and Elk Neck Elementary School.
Yeah, so I mean, the easiest way I think to remember it is it sandwiches July 4th because everyone's away during July 4th and they're kind of relaxing. So before then, it starts like mid-June, right into that beginning of July. We're at Rising Sun High School for a 2-week session. And then right after the week of July 4th, we move down to Elk Neck Elementary School for a 2-week session.
Okay, and what are the times? It's during the day, obviously.
Yep, we have a morning session that's from about 8 to 10. And then the second session, which is kind of like a late morning or early afternoon, which is 10 to 12. And that's for both Rising Sun and Elk Neck Elementary School.
Great. How can people learn more?
So if they're looking to learn more, I mean, we're trying to get our messages out there in as many places as we can. I would say the best place to find out update information would be on Facebook. If you look up Cecil County Parks and Recreation. And we also have a website that has everything listed, which is cecilrec.recdesk.com.
Great. Okay, so people can go to Facebook or to the website to learn about Community Game Night, which is this Friday, Summer Field Hockey, which starts on Tuesday, and then Safetyville, which starts the end of June.
Yeah, right around the middle to late June. Yep.
Okay, great. Nick Moon, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Allison.